The beast broke free, then guarded the human student like its own. Owen's back hit the wall. The alarm was already screaming. 3 seconds ago, the containment panel had gone dark, and now the door to Unit 7 hung open like a broken jaw. He had not moved. His legs had stopped working when the lights dropped to red. The thing inside Unit 7 had been classified as a Category 6 life form. Owen had read the classification report twice because Dr. Gareth had asked him to file it, and he had a habit of reading things he filed. Category 6 meant, do not approach under any circumstances. Category 6 meant, the creature inside had survived conditions that killed everything else they tested alongside it. Category 6 meant, the Galactic Compact had spent 11 years trying to figure out what it ate, and the current best theory was whatever it wants. It stood in the open doorway now. It was enormous, wider than the door frame, which meant it had come through the door by deciding the door frame was a suggestion. Its body was dense and low to the ground, covered in something between scales and bark, and its 4 eyes, 2 forward-facing and 2 on the sides of its skull, were all looking at Owen. All 4. Owen had a clipboard. He was 19 years old. He was doing an unpaid research internship on a space station orbiting a planet he could not pronounce the name of, because the internship looked good on university applications. He had told his mother the work was observational. He had not told her he was observing things like this. The creature took 1 step out of the unit. The floor shook. Owen's clipboard hit the ground. He did not pick it up. The creature's head was the size of a small vehicle, and it swung low as it moved, scanning the corridor. 2 of its eyes stayed on Owen the entire time. It made a sound, not a roar, not anything Owen had a word for. Something between grinding stone and the lowest note a pipe organ could reach. The sound went through his chest and reorganized something inside him. He should run. Every reasonable part of his brain was filing paperwork on this topic. The door behind him was 30 feet away. His legs had not received the memo yet. The creature took another step. Then it stopped. It lowered its head all the way down slowly, until its jaw was nearly touching the floor, and it looked at Owen from that angle. One of the forward-facing eyes was now level with his knees. It blinked. Once. The eyelid came from the side, not the top, a pale membrane sliding across a golden black iris the size of Owen's entire face. It did not attack. It sat, like a dog sits, except the action involved approximately 2 tons of alien muscle folding itself down to the corridor floor with a sound like a building settling. Its tail, long, armored, capable of taking out a wall, which Owen knew because the incident report from 3 months ago was also in his filing stack, curled around to its right side. Owen stood very still. The creature made the sound again, quieter this time. The emergency door at the far end of the corridor slammed open. Neil came through it first, lead security officer, 40 years on the job, carrying a containment rifle that needed 2 hands and still looked small. Behind him came Dr. Lena, already pulling up readings on her tablet, and then 4 more security personnel in full containment suits. Neil raised the rifle. The creature moved faster than anything that size had any right to move. It was between Owen and Neil before Owen processed that it had moved at all. It did not attack. It simply stood there. A wall of scale and muscle directly between the rifle and Owen, its 4 eyes now all facing forward. Neil did not fire. His finger was on the trigger and he did not fire, because he was experienced enough to know that whatever the rifle would do, the creature's response would be worse. "Get away from the student," Neil said. His voice was flat and professional and completely steady. Owen respected this deeply because his own voice, had he been able to use it, would not have been any of those things. The creature did not move. "Carter," Neil said without shifting his eyes from the creature, "walk toward me, slowly." Owen's legs worked now. Barely. He took one step to his right toward the side of the corridor, trying to move around the creature's flank. The creature shifted, kept him behind it. Owen stopped. He looked at the back of the creature's head, at the way it had positioned itself, not cornering him, not trapping him, shielding him. There was a geometry to it that was unmistakable. He was behind it. The guns were in front of it. Every adjustment it made was to keep him behind it. "Dr. Lena," Owen said. His voice came out smaller than he intended. "What does the file say about its behavior toward juveniles of other species?" Dr. Lena looked up from her tablet. Her expression was the expression of someone whose data had just said something she did not expect. "It says," she said slowly, "that in its native habitat, the adults of its species form protective bonds with young that are separated from their own groups." She paused. "The behavior is instinctual and extremely persistent." Owen looked at the back of the creature's head again. He was 19 years old. He was 5 feet 10 inches tall. He weighed 68 kilograms. He had apparently triggered the protective instinct of a Category 6 life form. The creature made its sound again. The low, stone-grinding note, closer now, almost gentle. Neil had not lowered the rifle. Owen had a feeling this was going to significantly complicate his internship evaluation. The standoff lasted 11 minutes. Owen counted because there was nothing else to do with his hands. Neil had called in 2 more security teams. They filled the corridor on both sides now, 12 people total, various weapons, all pointed at a creature that had not moved except to keep Owen precisely behind it at all times. Every time Owen shifted his weight, the creature adjusted. It was like being shadowed by a continent. Dr. Lena was talking fast into her comms link. Owen could hear fragments, behavioral imprint, unexpected cross-species, recommend stand-down protocol, and he could hear Dr. Gareth's voice coming back, not in fragments, all of it, because Dr. Gareth had a voice that ignored distance. "Sedate it," Dr. Gareth said. "Sir, if we sedate it and it falls, the student is directly in the collapse radius." A pause. "Then get the student out first." "We have tried, sir. It will not allow repositioning." Another pause, longer. "I am on my way." Dr. Lena lowered her comms and looked at Owen with an expression that was professionally neutral and personally sympathetic. "He will be here in 4 minutes." "Great," Owen said. The creature turned its head slightly and looked at him with one side eye. The golden-black iris was calm. Completely, unreasonably calm, the way very old things are calm. Not because nothing is happening, but because they have seen enough things happen to know the difference between an actual problem and everything else. Owen was not calm, but standing next to something that calm was doing something to his breathing, slowing it down against his will, like standing next to a very slow river. He looked at the creature's flank. Up close, what he had thought were scales were more complex, layered, overlapping structures that shifted color slightly as the creature breathed, dark gray in the red emergency light, something underneath that might be green or blue in normal lighting. The surface had texture, microridges running in parallel lines down the length of its body. Without making a decision to do it, Owen reached out and put his hand flat against the creature's side. Every security officer in the corridor made a sound. The creature made a sound too. Not the grinding note, something shorter, a single low pulse like a word in a language Owen did not speak. It turned its head and looked at him again with the forward eye, looked at his hand, looked at his face. Did not move away. Owen left his hand where it was. The surface was warm, warmer than he expected. Alive in a way that was different from how he thought about alive. He could feel something moving beneath the surface, not a heartbeat exactly, more like a tide. A slow in and out that was longer than any breath Owen could take. "Owen," Neil said, his voice had changed, less professional, more something else. "I need you to step back from it." "I do not think that is going to help," Owen said. "It is not your job to have opinions right now." "With respect, Neil, I think it kind of is." Dr. Gareth arrived in minute 3. He was a compact man who moved like he was always late to something important, gray at his temples, tablet already in hand. He stopped at the edge of the security line, looked at the creature, looked at Owen, and looked at Dr. Lena. "How?" he said. "We do not know," Dr. Lena said. "Is it going to hurt him?" Dr. Lena looked at the creature. At the geometry of it, the way Owen was behind it, the way it was facing the guns, the way it had lowered its head slightly in Owen's direction with something that was not a posture of threat. "No," she said, "I do not think it is." "Then why are 12 people pointing weapons at it?" Neil started to answer. Dr. Gareth held up one hand. "Stand down," he said. "Weapons down, everyone." Neil's jaw tightened. He lowered the rifle. The others followed, not happily. The creature watched this happen. When the last weapon dropped, it made a sound. The grinding note, but brief, not a warning, something else. Dr. Gareth walked forward. He stopped 6 feet from the creature and looked at it directly, which took, Owen noted, a visible act of will. Up close, Category 6 was a different experience than Category 6 in a file. "Carter," Dr. Gareth said, "I am going to ask you to do something, and I need you to trust that I have thought about it." "All right," Owen said. "Walk forward, past it, toward me." Owen thought about this. He looked at the creature's side, at the slow tide beneath the surface. He took his hand off the flank. The creature's head came around, both forward eyes alert. "I am not going far," Owen said, which was an absurd thing to say to an alien life form that almost certainly did not understand English, and yet he said it anyway because it felt necessary. He walked forward, past the creature's shoulder, into the space in front of it. The creature rose, not aggressively, slowly, with that same building-settling sound. It moved to Owen's side, not in front, beside, like a dog that has decided to walk with you rather than ahead of you. It was still very large. Owen's head came to approximately its shoulder joint. Dr. Gareth looked at this arrangement. He looked at Dr. Lena. She shrugged in a way that meant the data supports this, but I have no framework for it. "All right," Dr. Gareth said. "We are going to walk very calmly to the secondary observation bay, all of us, together." The walk took 6 minutes. The creature walked beside Owen the entire way, matching his pace with a care that was startling in something that large. When a security officer came too close on Owen's left, the creature's body shifted slightly, creating space. Not aggressive, just present, immovable. They passed 3 other units. Unit 12 held a pair of luminescent flyers that went silent when the creature passed. Unit 15. Owen had not filed that report and did not know what was in it, and based on the sounds that had been coming from it, occasionally had decided not to ask, went completely quiet. Even the things that should have been frightening were afraid of this. Owen processed this fact. He was walking next to the thing that made the frightening things quiet. This was either the safest place on the station or a fact that would not matter for long. The secondary observation bay was large enough. Barely. The creature entered without being invited, chose a position in the center of the room and settled. It looked at Owen. Owen sat on the nearest surface, an equipment crate waist-high, solid enough. He sat down. The creature's posture shifted, settled further, like something in it had been waiting for Owen to stop moving and was relieved that he had. Dr. Gareth stood at the bay entrance with his tablet, and the expression of a man revising several things he thought he knew. "It chose you," he said. "The file says this species bonds with separated young. You are not young." "I am 19, Owen said. Dr. Gareth looked at him. "To something that lives 300 years, Owen, you are essentially an infant." Owen looked at the creature, at its 4 calm eyes. Apparently he was a baby. By galactic standards, This explained a number of things about his life that he had previously attributed to other causes. The creature made its short sound again, the single low pulse. Owen was fairly sure, and had no scientific basis for this, that it meant something close to settle down, I have you. He had been on the station for 6 weeks. He had filed 43 reports. He had eaten bad food and slept in a bunk that was sized for a species 2 feet shorter than him, and called his mother every Sunday and told her the work was going fine. It was, he supposed, technically still going fine. By morning, the story had left the secondary observation bay and spread through every level of the station. Owen knew this because Clara found him at the 6-hour mark, slightly breathless, eyes wide, carrying 2 coffee packets and the look of someone who had sprinted a long way on purpose. Clara was Owen's only real friend on the station. She was another student intern, doing her placement in xenobiology under Dr. Lena, and she had the quality Owen most valued in a person during emergencies. She thought before she spoke. She stepped into the observation bay, looked at Owen, looked at the creature, looked at Owen again. "That is a Category 6, she said. "Yes," Owen said. "It is sitting next to you." "Yes." "Like a very large companion." "I would not say that within earshot of it." Clara sat down on the crate next to him. She handed him a coffee packet. She looked at the creature for a long time without saying anything, which was one of the things Owen liked about her. She processed before she produced. "Dr. Gareth has been on comms with the Compact Authority since an hour ago," she said finally. "They are sending a containment team." Owen's coffee packet paused halfway to his mouth. "When?" "Transit time from the nearest authority station is 31 hours. She paused. "They are bringing a Type 4 suppression unit." Owen knew what a Type 4 suppression unit was. He had filed a report on one 3 weeks ago when the station had requisitioned one for Unit 15. He had read the spec sheet because he always read the spec sheets. A Type 4 was not designed to contain. It was designed to conclude. He looked at the creature, at the slow tide beneath its surface, at the 4 eyes that were currently half closed in what Owen had, in the past 6 hours, begun to recognize as rest. Relaxed. The creature was relaxed because Owen was in the room. "They are going to destroy it," Owen said. "It is an escaped Category 6, Clara said, not agreeing, not disagreeing, just placing the fact where he could look at it. "It has not hurt anyone. It has destroyed approximately 40,000 credits of containment infrastructure and given Neil a stress response that required medical attention. Neil is fine." Neil would dispute that. Owen stood up. The creature's eyes opened. All 4 immediately, the forward ones first, then the side ones. It raised its head, checking. "I am here," Owen said, which was still an absurd thing to say, and he said it anyway. The creature lowered its head. Owen walked to the bay's observation window. The station stretched below and around them, corridors, labs, docking bays. Functional and orderly, and entirely unprepared for the fact that the most dangerous thing in any of its units had decided to adopt a college student. "It was never going to be contained long-term," Owen said. "The file said its native habitat has a territory range of 400 square kilometers. We had it in a box the size of a large living room. The Compact approved the containment specs. The Compact is wrong sometimes." Clara was quiet for a moment. That is a significant thing for a 19-year-old research intern to say out loud. "I am aware." She came to stand next to him at the window. They looked out at the station together. "What are you thinking?" she asked. Owen did not answer right away. He was looking at his own reflection in the window, and behind his reflection, the creature resting in the center of the room, and behind the creature, the unit it had come from, Unit 7, visible at the end of the corridor, door still hanging open. "I am thinking," he said, That it came out of that unit and it walked past 12 other units and it stopped when it found me. It had the whole station. It stopped. It picked you, Clara said. It picked me, Owen said, and I'm trying to figure out what that means. Dr. Lena appeared at the bay entrance 40 minutes later, tablet in hand, with the expression of someone who had been awake too long and found something that made it worth it. I have been going through the original capture records, she said. She did not come fully into the room. She stopped at the entrance, a careful distance from the creature. This species, its compact designation is Varath Class 7, is documented in about 12 sources total. It is one of the least studied life forms in the current catalog. Why? Owen asked. Because no research team has ever gotten close enough for long enough. Every documented encounter resulted in the team retreating. She paused. Or not retreating fast enough. But it is sitting next to Owen, Clara said. Yes, Dr. Lena's expression was the expression of a scientist whose framework has just been offered something it cannot currently process. It is sitting next to Owen. She looked at Owen directly. The bonding behavior in the records is documented only within species, an adult protecting its own young, or occasionally young of a closely related species. There is exactly one record from about 60 years ago of a Varath-class bonding with a life form outside its biological family. What happened? Owen asked. The researcher who documented it said the creature stayed with the other life form until it died. Natural causes, 15 years later, the creature left after. She paused. They found it 2 years after that. It had not bonded with anything else. The room was very quiet. Owen turned and looked at the creature. It was looking back at him, patient and enormous and utterly calm. 15 years. It would stay with him for 15 years. It did not know he had a university to finish. It did not know about his mother, who expected Sunday calls. It did not know that he was an intern, unpaid, 6 weeks into a placement he had chosen for resume purposes. It had looked at him across a red-lit corridor and made a decision that, by everything Dr. Lena was telling him, was as deep and fixed as anything its biology could produce. The compact team, Owen said, 31 hours. Yes, Dr. Lena said. If it is still here in 31 hours. Dr. Lena looked at him. She looked at her tablet. She looked at the creature. Have pulled the station's external navigation logs, she said, very carefully. Docking Bay 4 has a research scout vessel that requires a crew of 2 and a pilot. Its navigation systems are preloaded with routes to 6 systems outside Compact Authority jurisdiction. She placed the tablet on the edge of the nearest shelf, face up. I am going to go get some food and rest for several hours. I am very tired. I may not notice things that happen in the next few hours while I am resting. She walked out. Owen looked at Clara. Clara looked at the tablet, at the navigation data on its screen, at Owen. I am very tired as well, she said. She did not move. Owen looked at the creature, at the slow tide beneath its surface, at 4 eyes that had not left his face since this conversation began. The compact was sending a suppression unit in 31 hours, for a creature that had not hurt anyone, that had walked past the chance to go anywhere and stopped at an underpaid intern, because something in its 300-year-old biology had recognized something in a 19-year-old human, and decided, with a certainty Owen had never felt about anything, that this was the one it was staying with. He picked up the tablet. I am going to need your help, he said to Clara. She picked up her coffee packet. I know, she said. The plan had 4 steps and survived contact with reality through exactly 2 of them. Step 1. Owen and Clara would access Docking Bay 4 using Clara's lab clearance, which extended to equipment transfer authorization and therefore, technically, to bay access. This worked. Clara's hand did not shake on the panel. Owen was quietly impressed. Step 2. They would get the creature to the bay by walking it through the service corridor on level 3, which had no security cameras because it had been flagged for infrastructure upgrade for 2 years, and the cameras had never been replaced. This also worked, which was the more remarkable accomplishment, because it involved walking a 2-ton alien life form through a metal corridor at 4 in the morning, while both of them moved with the deliberate casualness of people, definitely not doing anything unusual. The creature, for its part, moved quietly, more quietly than something that size should move, like it understood that quiet was what the situation needed. Step 3 was where reality filed its objections. Docking Bay 4 was not empty. Neil was there. He was sitting on a cargo crate with a containment rifle across his knees and a coffee packet in his hand, and he looked at Owen and Clara, and the creature, with the expression of a man who had suspected this was coming and had not fully prepared for the feeling of being right. He did not raise the rifle. "Carter," he said. "Neil," Owen said. They looked at each other across 40 feet of docking bay floor. "I have been doing this job for 40 years, Neil said. "I have protocols for escaped life forms. I have protocols for unauthorized bay access. I have a protocol for almost everything." He paused. "I do not have a protocol for this exact situation." The creature stood at Owen's left side. It was looking at Neil with its forward eyes. It had read the rifle immediately, Owen could tell. Its posture had shifted, weight forward, head lower. Not threatening. Ready. "Neil," Owen said, "it has not hurt anyone." "I know. The compact team is coming to destroy it." "I know. Because it broke out of a box that was too small for something that needs 400 square kilometers to live." Neil looked at his coffee packet. He looked at the creature. He looked at Owen, who was 19 years old and holding a navigation tablet, and had, in the past 8 hours, gone from unpaid intern to the only human on the station that a Category 6 life form would accept in its personal space. "Where are you taking it?" Neil asked. "Outside compact jurisdiction," Owen said. "Dr. Lena pulled 6 routes." "Dr. Lena is sleeping," Neil said. "She mentioned that." Neil was quiet for a long moment. He stood up. The rifle stayed on the crate. He picked up his coffee packet and walked to the bay's side door, not the main entrance, the service exit, and he stopped with his hand on the panel. "My shift officially ends in 22 minutes, he said. "I am going to take my break, 40-year career. I have earned a long break." He pressed the panel. The service door opened. Bay 4's external launch authorization requires a secondary code. I am going to write that code on the back of this coffee packet and leave it on this crate because I am a tired old man who is careless with sensitive materials. He set the coffee packet on the crate. He walked through the service door without looking back. Owen and Clara stood in the empty bay. Clara walked over and picked up the coffee packet. She read the back. She looked at Owen. "He has been here 40 years, she said. "He read the same file I did," Owen said. "He just read it longer ago." They moved. Clara took the pilot's position. Her xenobiology placement had included flight certification as a secondary qualification, a fact she had mentioned once and Owen had remembered because he remembered things, and Owen went to the secondary console. The creature, without instruction, positioned itself in the rear cargo section of the scout vessel, folding itself into a space that was technically too small and accommodating this fact with a kind of patient determination. The launch cycle took 4 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, Dr. Gareth's voice came over station comms. "Carter," a pause, "I am in my office. I have a view of docking bay 4 from my office window." Another pause. "My window is unfortunately very foggy tonight. Visibility is poor." Another pause. "I hope whatever I am not seeing is successful." The comm clicked off. Owen looked at the launch panel. He thought about 43 filed reports, about a Sunday call he would need to make and would have to edit significantly, about a university placement evaluation that was going to be extremely unusual. He thought about a red-lit corridor and a creature that had walked past 12 units and every available exit and stopped. "Ready," Clara said. "Go," Owen said. The scout vessel left the station at standard departure velocity, which did not trigger the proximity alarms. And then at a distance of 800 meters, Owen pushed the drive to full, and the stars went from points to lines in docking bay 4 and the station, and the 31-hour countdown were somewhere behind them in a space that was getting smaller very fast. The creature made its sound. In the enclosed space of the scout vessel, the grinding note filled everything, went through the hull, through Owen's chest. Not a warning, not distress. Something settled, something at rest. Navigation says 14 hours to the first route point, Clara said. Her voice was steady. She was good at steady. Outside compact jurisdiction at that location. There is a system Dr. Lena tagged, 3 planets uninhabited, one with a surface area that is mostly open territory. She paused. About 600 square kilometers of available range in the northern continent. Owen looked back through the vessel's interior. The creature was watching him. All 4 eyes, patient, gold and black in the dim light, the slow tide beneath its surface moving in and out. He thought about what Dr. Lena had said. 15 years, the last documented bonding. It would stay with whatever it chose until that thing was gone. He was 19. In 15 years he would be 34. He was not sure what 34 looked like yet. He had been trying to imagine it for a while, and the image kept being vague. Some office, some job, the kind of life that made sense on a university application. The image was clearer now, though he could not entirely explain why. He turned back to the console. Outside the forward window, the stars were moving, new ones appearing. The space outside compact jurisdiction was older and quieter and full of planets that no one had catalogued yet. 14 hours, Owen said. Give or take, Clara said. He settled into the seat. Behind him, the creature's breathing moved like a tide against the hull. He had time. The planet did not have a name. The compact catalog gave it a designation, a string of letters and numbers that meant noted, uninhabited, low priority, and the designation was the most attention anyone had paid to it in 60 years of stellar mapping. It had green sky in the mornings. Not the full green of leaves, but the pale green of shallow water with light coming through it, shifting to blue-gold by midday. The northern continent was mostly open, low rolling ground, dense growth along the river systems, and the kind of silence that was not empty but full of small things Owen was still learning to identify. They landed in a clearing large enough for the scout vessel and close enough to a river that the sound of it was constant. A low, steady sound. Owen found it helped him sleep. He had been on the planet for 3 weeks. Clara had stayed for the first 2, because someone had to help establish a base camp and catalog the immediate environment and figure out what was safe to eat and what would cause problems. And Clara approached all 3 tasks with the efficient enthusiasm of someone who had found her actual calling 2 weeks into a xenobiology placement that had not, until now, involved anything this interesting. On the morning of day 14, she had looked at Owen over their camp setup and said, "I have to go back." Owen had known this. She had a placement to complete. She had a life that fit in categories he recognized. She had not made the same decision he had made in docking bay 4, and he did not expect her to. "Tell my mother I am fine," he said. Clara looked at him. "What do I tell her specifically?" "Tell her the work is interesting and I have found a good place to stay, and I will call when I have signal access." He paused. "Do not tell her about the Category 6 until you have given her something to drink." Clara's expression was the expression of someone filing a difficult assignment. "I will tell Dr. Lena first. She will help." She paused. "Owen, are you sure?" Owen looked at the creature. It was 50 meters away at the river, drinking, its back broad and dark against the pale green morning. It had spent the first 3 days of planetside time moving in expanding circles around the clearing, cataloging the territory, checking the range. It always came back to wherever Owen was, not immediately, not anxiously. It had a world to investigate, but it came back. "I am sure," he said. She had taken the scout vessel. He had kept the emergency comms unit, the portable lab equipment, and 4 months of preserved food stocks. He had also kept the navigation data, the secondary comms codes, and 1 coffee packet that he kept in his pack without entirely knowing why. The scout vessel's engine had faded into the green sky, and then the sky had been quiet, and Owen had stood in the clearing for a long time. The creature had come back to the clearing 20 minutes later. It had looked at the space where the vessel had been. It had looked at Owen. Owen had said, "Just us now." The creature had made its short sound, the single low pulse, and then it had settled at the edge of the clearing and watched Owen with the patience of something that had a very long time and had decided to spend it here. That had been 9 days ago. Owen had been busy. The portable lab equipment was better than he had expected. He had been keeping detailed records of everything, the plant species within a 3-kilometer radius, the fauna he could observe from a safe distance, the soil composition near the river, the way the light changed through the day, and what it did to the plant growth cycles. He had filled 2 data logs already. He had started a 3rd. He was aware on some level that he was doing this because it was what he knew how to do, and because the act of documenting things carefully was the way he processed the size of where he was and what he had decided. But the records were also good, genuinely good, things that no one had documented. A planet that had been a designation in a catalog was becoming, page by page, a place with specifics. The creature, he had learned, moved out to hunt at dawn and at dusk. It was not gone long, an hour at most, and it always returned with the particular settled energy of something that has done what its body needed and can now rest. During the middle of the day it was frequently near Owen's camp, not always visibly present but audible or detectable by the way the birds. Owen had classified 7 species so far and tentatively named them, went quiet when it moved nearby. He was not afraid. He examined this fact regularly because it seemed like the kind of fact that deserved examination, and he could not find fear anywhere in it. He found something else, something quieter, the particular calm of a decision that you have stopped second-guessing. On day 21, the emergency comms unit activated. Owen was at the river making notes on water fauna when it chimed. He got back to camp in 4 minutes. The creature was already there, alert, head up, eyes on the comms unit. The signal was from Clara. He accepted it. Her face on the small screen was tired and lit by station lighting, and more serious than her usual register. "The compact filed an incident report," she said. "Escaped Category 6, 2 unauthorized personnel, 1 scout vessel. Dr. Lena and Neil are technically under investigation." She paused. Dr. Gareth submitted a counter-report. He documented the behavioral observations from the 8 hours before the departure. He submitted it to the Compact's Xenobiology Research Division. "What did they say?" Owen asked. "It is being reviewed." She paused. The researcher who reviewed the initial submission came back within 6 hours. She apparently contacted 3 colleagues. Owen, that bonding record from 60 years ago, the one Dr. Lena found, the researcher who documented it, is still alive. She is 94. She contacted Dr. Lena directly. Clara paused again. She cried. Dr. Lena said she cried for about 10 minutes and then asked for the navigation coordinates. Owen was quiet. "The compact investigation," he said. "Is it going to result in a retrieval order?" Clara looked at something off-screen, back at him. Dr. Gareth's count report formally reclassified the departure as an unauthorized research relocation, not an escape, not a theft, a relocation of a documented research subject to a more appropriate study environment. She paused. "He also submitted your data logs, the 3 weeks of notes. Owen, 2 people in the Xenobiology Division have already called them significant." The creature moved to Owen's left side. It looked at the comms screen, at the small version of Clara's face on it. It made no sound, which Owen had learned was its version of patience. "What does that mean?" Owen asked. It means, Clara said, that the compact is discussing, and I want to be careful with the words here, a potential reclassification of the planet's status from uninhabited low priority to active research site with resident xenobiologist. She paused once more. Paid, an actual salary, with equipment resupply on a quarterly basis. Owen sat down on his equipment crate. He looked at the green-gold sky, at the river catching light through the trees, at the creature standing solidly at his side, four eyes calm, the slow tide moving under its surface. He thought about his mother who expected Sunday calls. He thought about the university application he had built a life around fitting into. He thought about a corridor, red-lit, a clipboard on the floor, and something enormous deciding to stop. "Clara," he said. "Yes," she said. "Tell my mother the work is going well." Clara looked at him on the screen. The tired station lighting made her look older than she was, and the expression on her face was the expression of someone who has watched a person find the place they fit and is deciding to be glad about it. "I will tell her," she said. The comms unit clicked off. Owen sat in the clearing. The green morning moved around him. At the river, something called in a pattern he had not cataloged yet, and he reached for his data log. The creature settled at the clearing's edge. Not close, not far. The distance it had maintained since day one, present, watchful, entirely without urgency. Owen opened the log. He wrote the date, the coordinates, the light level and the temperature and the sound from the river. He wrote creature at eastern clearing edge, resting posture, all four eyes partially closed. He wrote no threat indicators, no distress. He wrote all clear. Then he closed the log, looked up at the sky, and let the morning do what mornings do. He had a lot of work to do. He had a very long time to do it.